What is going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a good Wednesday. Tuesday, not so beautiful for me, not so beautiful for Sheets, doesn't sound like. The Jimmy Butler play cost me everything because didn't expect him to come out of the game. Oh, Kyrie coming out. That was the other thing that happened too yesterday. Kyrie had been basically the same thing happened, getting hit in the head. But we're ready to get back after it today. MLB time. And yeah, guys, I apologize for not showing my face, but I think that I'm actually doing you guys a favor because it's looking a little funny these days with this little peel going on. So
I would also like to say that again, I tool around with the idea of like just taking like best clips and funniest clips from the day before videos in like light of what happened. So I pulled it up, but I didn't launch it when we were I didn't record it. But you'll recall if you look if everybody looks maybe yesterday at like the 1 hour mark of yesterday's video, we were about to handle the Dodger game. Bobby says, "All right, you ready for this last one? I guess it's kind of hard to get away from this guy." And I said to him, "You really think Kikuchi's that much of a lock, huh?"
Yeah,
we kind of laughed about it.
That's right. No, I actually that's stuck in my memory.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that was. I know it's crazy how often that ends up working. All right, man.
I hope people think the Dodgers are bad now. Is that possible?
Yeah.
You want to get moving with
let's going with baseball, and I'm gonna make sure to have my weather edge thing brought up, and it's take it for what it will be. It's look, I know that Roth does a lot of the weather stuff, but I have my own little thing that I'm trying to combine it with, and so far I'm pretty happy with it. All right. Anyway, why don't you pull up your screen and we'll go game by game?
Yeah. Let's see, this and this, and you guys can by the way, and you guys can give me input of whether you prefer me use my spreadsheet as what I'm sharing or the DraftKings lineup, whatever it is. I could do either, and I could live with either. But if we go going game by game, I'm gonna have to go like back and forth between them. If you guys want to give input, give your input. I literally go back and forth. So whatever is easier for you guys, I'm pretty much as comfortable. Whatever. So Philly, Washington. I guess I'll just start. For me, I'm not. It's weird. I was really expecting to get to Wheeler, but I'm just not for some reason. Well, I guess you could talk to me about why I'm not and why I should, or anything like that. I'm just not getting to Wheeler anywhere. That's just where I'm at. With respect to the hitting, maybe because the hitting environment's good that I don't know about, because I am getting to both hitting sides of this.
It's a terrible hitting environment. So from what
it's a bad hitting environment. So now I have no idea.
I don't know for sure that it's only based, doesn't seem like a huge sample, but you've got the wind blowing pretty drastically in from, well, not drastically, pretty hard in from left. And they just have I'm just looking at the tracking history of this. It doesn't look like let's just say one of the more significant ones we've seen so far.
So for me, the game is probably going to end up being somewhat of a pass, only because like right now, assuming like weather neutrality, I had Philly as kind of like one of my top 4 or 5 stacks, and I had Washington as just beneath it. But with the with bad weather, they're certainly not going to continue to rate that way. But I don't think it's going to tip the scales enough for me to probably play the pitchers. I don't know. I got to take another look at it a little bit later. What do you think? You like Wheeler here?
I'm not I think Wheeler's okay. I don't know that I think that I don't know. I mean, I think Woodruff's a better pitcher than he is, so I think that's a pretty simple decision. But, and again, the weather could easily change. And it's not based on the hugest sample size. So I wouldn't, don't make it gospel, but I think that.
What do you mean by sample size? Like what? It's because of the way the wind is blowing right now or something?
Just similar environments in the same stadium. It hasn't been around.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I actually do think that Philadelphia is interesting. Like if everything weather-wise is okay. Right now I've got them as one of my main stacks. But I am definitely just going to keep an eye on the weather and see if the wind changes angles, see if anything changes that lead me to think that it's a little better for home runs. I do like picking on Lester. He's gotten a little bit better at not giving up so many stolen bases. I would love to play him against a team though that does fly around a ton, because I think you could really exploit him. This is not exactly the team, but they do have a couple guys who will run a little bit. And guys even the other guys who are just in good spots, like Baum at 3,100 is a really good play, regardless of whether you like the Phils. Hoskins historically been very good against lefties. Same with McCutchen. Bryce Harper and the lefty is completely fine. And then I think Knapp will probably catch today. So I don't think you're getting the Real Muto because I think he's injured. But I think they're interesting. They're definitely I like a mini stack of them, assuming that the weather gets a little bit better for hitting, I guess.
You want to go with the new narrative, the washed up lefty narrative, like what's Madison Bumgarner going to get a Cy Young at 45 years old?
God, no.
Maybe you want to play John Lester and hope there's something in the environment for like washed up lefties. No,
no, thank you.
Okay, just check. Do we still take that was another just atrocious take by me yesterday. Do we still try to find base stealers against Leicester or not as much?
That's what I just said. Yeah, I would like to have a team that flies around a little bit more against him than Philly does, but they'll run a little bit. And
isn't that guy the Roman Quinn? Is he the guy we'd want to?
No, I think that you're just hoping it for one of the. I mean, I would rather just try and pick the power bets that have some speed, and not to say that Baum will go or that Rhys Hoskins will still be running and Harper, but those guys and even McCutcheon could go against him. Although he has gotten a lot better in terms of giving up stolen bases from where he was.
Okay, you want to move on to Oakland, Boston?
Yeah, let's do it.
What's the weather like here? Any weather takes on this game?
Nothing particularly strong. Slight wind blowing out to the right.
Okay, so I'd like Erod as one of my top 3 pitchers, and I like Oakland as one of my top 2 stacks. so that's what I wish I could tell you that wasn't the case, but so yeah, that's where I'm at. I think that that both things have upside in their own way. Erod can bring some heat, Oakland can strike out, and yet Oakland can hit a bunch of home runs, and Erod can give them up. So I'm at that. That's where I'm at. And Boston for me just is kind of like a secondary stack on DraftKings. I would imagine I would have gotten more of it with a guy I'd never heard of pitching. But I just not there right now. So for me, it's more Oakland and Erod.
Yeah, sorry if I'm a little. Google Chrome is doing this thing again where it's been fine now for a week and now it's just popped up again. So if I try to click on anything, it's just going. I'm gonna have to reset my whole thing and. I'll do that.
While you're looking for that, you want me to go over the guys I like?
I have nothing to look for. It's not. It'll take me an hour. I have to change everything and then reset my system and then relog into every. I mean, I've got like 16.
Well, I'll just finish what I was saying then at least.
Yeah. Sorry.
Then on the Oakland side, I like Olsen, Canha, Laureano, Piscotty. I've been doing, Bobby, and again, maybe more so this year, is I've been finding that there are certain positions that I just try to play guys from my stacks in that position, and it's different on both sides. So like in DraftKings for whatever, if there's a passable catcher, right, I'll try to kind of put him in, and like in this case, you identify what's in Sean Murphy, but like weirdly, Bobby, I'm finding that on FanDuel, the position where I have a trouble finding one-offs is like shortstop for some reason. Like for some reason, whenever I'm handy building my FanDuels and I want to do like a 4-man, I end up like my stack not having a good shortstop. I don't know. It's a little weird for me. I don't know.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
I like both these offenses a little bit. I think that rather than totally trying to pick on Erod, I would probably try to, pick out a few bats against him. He's, he's not like he's a bad pitcher. So reasonable case stuff. We know Oakland can be good against lefties. Laureano, Canha, Murphy, Chapman would be my favorites. With Olsen, you could use to fill in the stack. But I don't know that I'm fully stacking them. I think I would just be more looking for those guys I mentioned. The power righties, and then you could always play Piscotty at a really cheap price in the outfield. On the other side, I do like the Red Sox. I'm guessing that they're going to use this Caprillion as for probably just a few innings, and it's going to be a little bit of a bullpen game. Now the weird part is they've got a pretty decent bullpen, but this is a pretty, I mean, this run total even is really high. And I don't think the ownership will be there so much because you're going to have people paying up for pitcher, and Boston is really expensive. So as of right now, I have Boston as one of the top stacks, maybe even the top stack on the slate. And I mean, it's the usual guys. It's JD, Verdugo, Bogarts, Devers, Vasquez, either Renfro, Cordero, or Marwin to fill in a stack. You can get value if you play two of the bottom guys like Renfro and Cordero, Renfro, Chavez, something like that, just to get a little bit of a cheaper and differently owned stack. But then again, you'd have to use up some pretty valuable positions if you try to use Renfro, and especially Renfro and Cordero, because there's good outfielders and there's good cheap outfielders too. So it's just something worth consider. But I do think that I would lean Renfro in that between the two of them, and I think that would, probably be making putting JD in just about all of my stacks.
Just to throw in your Oakland stacks, Elvis Andrus is 2,100. And who wouldn't want Elvis Andrus with all of his wonderful fantasy production? 5, 8, 7, 3, 0, 0, 2.
That's like a huge upgrade from where he usually is. He hasn't. I feel like he's usually like a 0 waiting for maybe 2 or something.
See, he's getting momentum. That's it.
Yeah, I can never go that far against a good pitcher. Like I need to have a pitcher I'm trying to pick on in order to do it. But
okay, so Yankees, Tampa. So Cole, for me, is clearly the top option for me on DraftKings. I'm probably going to have 100% of him on DraftKings. That's just where I'm going to be. We'll talk about the other pitchers later, and some of them are good options. But I just think that there's that there's the separation of price isn't enough for me to not play pretty much everything with Cole. And what's interesting, and this is, I'm really starting to learn this by actually running crunches with these things. So like when you look at FanDuel, like the first thing I would notice is that, because they usually price these guys up on FanDuel a little bit more, is that you can make a case that on a point per dollar basis, Cole is not, necessary over there as far as just, if it was nothing else, right? It was just pitcher versus pitcher. But like when you see that you don't really gain that much from paying down, right? Because of FanDuel's loose hitting salaries, you don't even worry about that. You gotta you only really want to pay down for pitching if it's going to get you something significant on the hitting side. So I think I'm going to end up with Cole on most of my lineups on FanDuel also.
Makes sense to me. I definitely have Cole as I don't know how not to play him right now. And I think he's too cheap and by far the best pitching option on the slate. And on FanDuel, he's obviously more expensive, but I think you can find ways around it. I'm just going to mention as a one-off, I think that Judge makes a lot of sense again. He's still 4,600, and that's pretty much my only hitting.
But you got it last night, right?
Yeah, but I took him out when I heard about the possible COVID, and there were so many other outfielders I liked. Anyway.
I couldn't believe I thought they weren't even going to play.
That's what I thought was going to happen too. Even after they announced that the game was still scheduled to be played, I was like, I don't know. So I didn't want to get burned by the Yankees on that one again because it's happened to me a few times.
And I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something interesting. I mean, we could talk. This is like a totally other conversation. But when COVID first happened, like the testing came out, we were saying that, oh my God, all the NBA and MLB players, these people are going to have priority for the testing. They're taking it away from the public. I mean, it's not fair, whatever it is. And now, like, these are like the only people that aren't vaccinated, apparently.
Seems like it, huh?
Why are these people not vaccinated? I mean, I don't even understand. Like, why?
Actually, the Yankees guy who got it was vaccinated.
Oh, is that true? Oh,
yeah.
Oops. Okay.
So we've got, whatever. There's like 6,000 cases out there.
That's another story.
Conversation. And again, this by the way, but just on that real quickly, vaccinations don't necessarily cure. It'll make the symptoms much less if you get it anyway. All right. Should we move on to the next one?
Yeah, the only guy I would take on in this game. So I presume you don't the only guy I would take from Tampa in this game is the guy who's not playing, and that's the Garrett Cole killer, the G-Man Choi. Like if he were playing somehow, if he were back off the injured list, then he'd like a lock. I mean, every time he goes against Cole, it's like 2 home runs.
It's G-Man Choi and Rowdy Tellez seem to have Cole's number.
Tellez? I didn't catch that one. Okay.
I'm pretty sure Tellez does too. I gotta double check
Okay.
that. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So I think I'm done with that one. It's really just Judge and Cole for me.
Okay, so apparently this is the Coors Field game, right? KC at Detroit.
Oh my God, I know. I mean, well, one thing it does speak to though too, like when you get bullpens that are as bad as Detroit's bullpen, you might give up 7 runs in the 8th and 9th inning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Soler really that came through late it was great. I didn't have him with the right. He literally somehow ended up in like all of my.
And look, I have to say, okay, I have to take a mea culpa. I have to say, bad take. I predicted that the Tigers would get 10 runs. All right, I lied. They only got 9. So I really feel bad. And you were right. Like when you texted me, like, yeah, it's not like anybody really smashed for them. Yet still, against the chalk pitcher like that, I was really pissed myself for not doing it. I think it was unlucky that they didn't win. Because Arizona, they had like 100 runs.
Yeah, but even the runs in baseball, the more you play, you realize the runs really don't matter. I mean, it's partly they matter, but like for teams like Detroit, who are going station to station, who don't have real power on their lineup, it is hard for them because you do want that home run power upside. And
yes,
every day I look at their lineup, I'm going, okay, yeah, Robbie Grossman can hit like 2 3-run doubles. And okay, you know what I mean? Like that's what I'm betting on. And to be honest, somewhat it's true a little bit, but a little bit less so for KC. And KC also offers the stolen base upside that Detroit doesn't. And I think KC is a completely legitimate team to stack tonight. I really like them.
Today KC is like one of my favorite stacks. Like
yeah, I'm with you 100%. I don't think we're going to be entirely alone, but I don't know if everyone's going to be able to pay for Witt. You know what I mean? I don't think people are going to play Santana. I do think people will come over to Soler. And
especially off of 400, especially like a 400-point performance list.
Yeah, and Benintendi, who everyone just loves to play in general.
Against lefties.
Against righties.
Against righties, sorry.
And I mean, I think that you go Merrifield, Benintendi, Perez. You can place or skip Santana and then go Dozier, Soler, and then that's pretty much as far as I would really want to go on this team. Maybe Michael Taylor could get in if you're making a 5-man. But I really like this spot against. It's not just trying to pick on Mize. It's Mize and the bullpen, and Mize has actually been a little bit better than I would have thought coming into the season in terms of actually getting through more innings than I would have thought. But he does give up some hard contact. He gives up power. He doesn't strike anybody out. This team runs on everybody. I haven't checked out his stolen base numbers against, but I will before our 6 o'clock show. And everybody Witt, Benintendi, probably Taylor are your best bets for stolen bases, but Witt and Benintendi being really, really likely to go pretty much all the time, or most of the time, it seems like. So I like this stack.
So I had a speech prepared for Danny Duffy.
Okay.
But I was looking at it and I changed my speech. What I was going to say is, okay, everybody, for those of you going to play Danny Duffy at 20% ownership or 25% ownership, you guys, when are you guys going to learn? I mean, how many times do the Tigers have to bust a chalk pitcher before you guys learn not to screw with this team?
Right.
And I had that speech all prepared. And the problem is that I actually don't think he's going to be that owned. I'm looking at these other pitchers here, and I just feel as though there are people going to do Cole and Woodruff. And I think that the matchup, Gallen against Miami, I think people are going to play just a shitload of Gallen. And I don't know if Duffy's going to be his own, at least his own enough to warrant the speech, you know? So I think that if you want to play Duffy, I give the go ahead. I don't think he's going to be, but if he's going to be like 30% or something like that, I would say, when are you guys going to learn? But I think he's a fair play. I don't know if I'm going to do it, but I definitely think he's in the list of pitchers that people are going to play. That maybe you could.
Yeah. I think he's a really good play, actually. I mean, I thought your speech was going to say, how many times the Tigers have to teach you? And then I look at the picture, and the last time they faced the Tigers, they put up 30 fantasy points. Because every time the Tigers are playing a team, I swear the last pitcher pitched against the Tigers already this year and had 30 fantasy points, or 28 in Duffy's case. But yeah, by the way, and this speaks against the Royals stack. It is an extreme pitcher's umpire, which is great for Duffy.
Oh, is it? Okay.
So it's easier to get the pitcher's information, umpire information on the non-first days or second days of season. Like Wednesdays are usually good, So now we have pretty much all the pitcher's stuff, the umpire stuff today. But that does support the Duffy argument. And I think Duffy is completely legitimate here. I agree.
You like him more than Urias?
Oh, than Urias. This is the problem I'm running into. I feel like there's like 7 pretty good pitchers, or 6 pretty good pitchers, but
all these guys are like the same price, like Gallen, Urias, and Duffy, right?
Yeah, Gallen, Urias, Duffy, and then Woodruff and Cole are not like hard to get above them, Right. That's the only issue. But yeah, I'm into that game. I think that I'm tired of sitting and watching while these guys have all the fun, and I want to get involved on both and the hitting side of it.
I'm sitting here just begging for Atlanta to like score runs, and get the home run from Acuna, you get the home run from Osuna, but like.
No, it was brutal though. From the beginning, I knew it was bad. Like the first 2 guys get on, they do a double steal, and literally the bases are stolen, and for some reason Ozuna swings, and like that kills all the free. And Freeman got picked off later on when he was trying to steal. Like there was just like a lot of nonsensical things. And then Pache hit one that literally was an inch off below the wall, like, you know what I mean, in the right field that would have gone out. And that would have been nice. There was a lot of things they could have scored more runs yesterday. But anyway.
There might be somebody, I don't know if you watched the Osuna home run, but like, I don't know if he always does this, but I think that there could be ejection risk.
Oh, really? I don't think there is any.
Did you see that guy trot around the base paths?
I didn't see Ozuna's, but I watch Tatis do it every time he hits a home run. I watch Acuna do it. So I don't think
Osuna was pretty brutal.
It's pretty crazy that he did, because I knew he hit the home run, and I watched his first 2 at bats. I'm like, why does this guy even play base? Like I was like, sometimes he just looks like the worst hitter in the world. He's swinging and missing by feet, and then I turn off. I miss one at bat, and he hits a home run.
Dude, he did the freaking the shuffle like all throughout the. I was gonna throw at him. He was from I was on that thing, and I wasn't even there.
No, Tatis says there's a commercial sheets that it's more for maybe the younger generation than it is for, But I'm on. I like fun baseball. I'm not a guy.
Dude, listen. We had this discussion, right? I do too. When I got older, I got off the Barry Sanders idea. You know what I mean? I'm into the celebration. I'm into all of it. But this was a little beyond.
Right.
I mean, especially like, I don't even know. I think they were still losing or something. You know what I mean? I don't know. It was like.
Yeah, it can be a little bit weird for sure.
It was tough to watch, and I could watch a lot of it.
Yeah.
So with that said, I don't like anything from this game. I don't like either the pitchers. I didn't like either the hitters. Am I missing it?
I think Fried is in play. I actually think Ryu is like, you're not going to get much better pitchers at 7,100. I know he hasn't been this.
That's
quite
true.
good, but he's a good pitcher. I mean, and so is Fried. And he's 6,100. It's a tough matchup, but it's a team that can strike out too. Like with a pretty low run total, not a great pitcher's umpire, but nothing sort of more on the neutral side. A mild interest on most slates, I'd say, but I don't think this is going to be one of them. Yesterday, they would have come in handy instead of my Maeda.
I don't. The only reason I didn't, I got to look into this more. Because the only reason I didn't mention Fried is he not going to be on a pitch count of some kind?
Well, I mean, his last time out, he went out there. He pitched 5 innings. I believe that he threw in the 80s pitch wise. So you'd think he'd be back. He only threw 72. Yeah, maybe there's a little bit to be concerned about, but he's 6,100. It's sort of baked in a little bit.
Yeah, I guess so.
6 innings from him would be, okay. He has a K prop today of 6.5, which is actually pretty high for a guy who's 6,100.
We got to bet low. I think we got to bet under on that thing.
Maybe you bet under on that, but the K props are a great way to decide about pitchers. I'm telling you. I mean, Vegas is pretty good, as you know. And I do have some faith in these. So when you see a guy with a K prop near the guys who are 2,500 more than him who we're talking about playing, we should at least consider him.
I want to have an account there too, on the monkey knife fight.
Oh yeah, yeah. Are you making a note to do it?
Well, I think they really screw you over there. I think they give you like you have to play like 2 of them or something. I don't know. I'll look at it.
Mm-hmm.
I've literally never played like a baseball prop. That sounds interesting. Because I don't know. I mean, under 6.5 against, I don't know.
That's a lot. I mean, like Brandon Woodruff, to give you an idea, is 7.5 today.
Can I just take Woodruff and lay the 1 to Fried?
No, no, I'm not. It's okay. I'm not talking about this as for bets. I'm just talking about just for pitchers. It's a good way to look at pitchers.
No. I know. I got you.
Yeah. I just want to make sure for everybody else understands what I'm trying to say, because I do think that that they can be relevant, and like I said, Vegas is pretty good. But yeah, so speaking of Woodruff, I mean, that is what to me, that's currently the plan, but I don't know that I think there are plenty of other pitchers with enough other outcomes, but there's also a huge slate, and I'm not worried about my stacks being too popular. So Woodruff, yes, popular. Yes, easy to get in my opinion, with Cole. Not necessarily with the stacks that I want. So I'm going to have to do some maneuvering, but KC is pretty cheap outside of a few spots.
See, this is what they do, by the way, and I'm sure they won't mind if I show their side.
No.
So what it is, they give a 6.5 prop, but you got to pick like 2 of them. It's like you got to go 2 out of 2 to 3 times your buy-in. So you're like forced into these. Maybe you're not forced into them. Was more or less. It's like I don't know exactly what the best thing to do. So like if I wanted to, I'd have to pick both of these from this game.
Right.
If I wanted to play a prop on this site, I think. I'm not sure.
There's a million different versions of variations they have. We'll get into that.
Okay.
So maybe we'll do a monkey knife fight show one of these days.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of interest in the hitting here. I just want to mention that St. Louis is really cheap. Gant isn't the worst, but like one guy you can just use to immediately make it easier for your pitchers to fit in whoever you want is play Vogelbach at 2,500.
Wait, hold on. Wait. So we're on Milwaukee, St. Louis, and what player are you talking about?
Vogelbach.
Oh, okay.
In fact, you could stack the whole team for like 7K. Like it's so cheap that it's actually enticing to try and do this. Like make it a combo stack, use it as a secondary stack, use a 3-man, use a 4-man. Travis Shaw is 3,300. Billy McKinney, I don't know where I'll hit tonight, 2,100. Tyrone Taylor has been batting third, 2,100. Colton Wong, 36. I mean, these guys are cheap. So I actually
probably rather use Hura at 3,200 than Wong at 36, right?
I don't think Hura will play. I don't even think he's playing anymore.
Oh, well, I don't know. Okay.
I haven't seen him play. He was.
Oh, he's been out for 10 days, right?
Yeah, he's been terrible. He was terrible. Yeah, so I'm a little bit interested here. Like I'm a little bit. I can get behind this little mini Milwaukee stack. Look, they even have a reasonable run total. You have them at home in a good hitter's park, and just so crazy cheap. And the thing is, Gant is not a bad pitcher. Like you could even argue for Gant if on a different slate, maybe not this slate, but it's not like he's terrible. But you don't need to be that terrible. And the one thing about him is, he'll give up stolen bases. He doesn't give up a ton of power. Hasn't given up a ton of power so far this year. But he's so wild that if he starts missing and all you need is one bad pitch, I mean, you don't need your whole stack at these prices to all hit, 2 home runs each. That's not the way that it needs to work. You can get, 30 points out of a mini stack of 3 or something like that at these prices. It's really, really cheap. You can get 40 and still be fine. And then again, you could always end up with 75 or something and just be rocking the house, as you would say.
What do you think of Woodruff?
Woodruff, yeah, I started that already. I'm using him with Cole mostly. I mean, I honestly, with all the other things we talk about, they're just the best options. The one thing is like, this is, you have a good umpire by the way for pitchers also, but it's St. Louis. I know they struggled like a little bit, but it's not like they have real hitters on their team. You know what I mean? It's not total cake. It does get pretty soft after the 5 spot, but just throwing that out there as a reason, because there are other guys, you could play over Woodruff, and we mentioned Duffy already, and obviously there's some cheaper guys like Gallen and Fried, but I do think Woodruff is right now my SP2.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't. I don't believe that. Well, I was about to say I don't believe that this ownership's going to hold. Yeah, I guess Woodruff and Gallen will be similar, right?
I would guess Woodruff would be more popular. I mean, it's so easy to get guys in. It's hard for me to know because, like, I'll just say at the higher buy-ins, my guess is Woodruff will be higher on than he's projected.
Because you can get in the other stuff.
Yeah, just everybody knows how to do it. It's
right.
To do it. I mean, every time I'm on to one of those, and you look at your other ones, like, oh, they're both like 15-20%. You look at the 777, it's like, oh, they're 60%. And it's baseball. It almost feels like it's more that way. Basketball is like that too, but like baseball is like these days it almost feels more that way. All right, you want to talk about?
I've got them the same. I have Woodruff and Gallen the same. That's just where I am.
Yeah, gotcha. Definitely not using any pitcher in this next game, although it is interesting always to see Dallas Keuchel this cheap. This is, from what I can tell, also pretty horrendous hitting weather on a slightly larger game sample size. Apparently very good for pitchers. These are guys I like to play against lefties, and I'm not really finding much here. So, I mean, it's all baked into the weather sort of matches the run total. You don't think that with these matchups, with these powerful offenses against lefties, that they would be at 7.5 run total, and that I also could have no interest in either pitcher. But that's where we are.
Yeah. I would play Hap against, you know what I mean, against some teams, but not against the White Sox righties. You know, I don't. I'm sorry. Yeah, and likewise the Keuchel, I don't think I'm playing against anybody. He'll have a great game and score 12 fantasy points. You know,
yeah, exactly. No, that's the problem with Keuchel, and he was like that even when he was freaking winning Cy Youngs.
Yeah. So but again, it's part of the theme, right? The washed up lefty theory.
I like this.
Yeah, I don't. Do I even get into any of the hitting? Yeah, you know, on FanDuel, I'm getting to the White Sox a little bit. That'll be my one comment from the hitting side is I'm getting a little White Sox on FanDuel.
Okay. I think the White Sox, I mean, like, look, if I didn't see this weather and I didn't see this run total, that was going to be something else I was going to do is get some pieces of this game. I wasn't going to fully stack because I think, well, Hap is combustible, but I think both pitchers are decent enough. But into like, you know, getting a little 2-man or something on each side, or Nelson Cruz, Tim Anderson stand out, Josh Donaldson, Mitch Garver, Jose Abreu. There's a lot of really good guys against lefties in this particular game. And by the way, Sheets, you know what I wanted to slap myself for yesterday? If I'm going to play as much Maeda as I played last night, how can I not have one or at least a couple hedge lineups where I'm not playing Maeda, I'm going to play his former catcher in Grandal, who's really the only one who did any damage. That's the reason why Maeda didn't have
pretty funny. I didn't think of that.
3-run home run off of him. And it's such my thing to do. I just didn't even put it together yesterday. And right. I really missed out on that one. Anyway, but you've got a lot of powerful right-handed bats. Kyle Garlick, even with the bad weather, is still, I think, interesting enough. He's been hitting the ball well. He's 3K and will be pretty low owned. So you have some options in this game. It's just I'm just not doing it, and it's largely based on the weather run, and which I think is also because of the run total.
You want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, why don't you start off with if you have any thoughts on this one, because it's a little. Go ahead.
I do have some thoughts on this one. First thing is that, as I mentioned before, if you just analyze, we're doing Angels. Oh, I'm sorry, I had some thoughts on the Miami, Arizona. I do have some thoughts on LA, Houston too, but not as much. LA, I'm not getting. I mean, they you know. You can tell your grandchildren you played Andrew Haney at 6,600 at 5% ownership back like a couple of weeks ago.
Seriously, this guy puts up 30 fantasy points every other start.
Yeah, every other one.
Exactly.
This might be one of the other ones.
Yeah.
So I don't. This whole game is a pass for me. If you want to know the truth, I mean, I don't have much interest in any of the hitting or the pitching. It's going to be one of those situations where both pitchers are good enough and both hitting environments are good enough. And I think it all just kind of middles and and evens out. I don't know. I'm just not getting too much of anything.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I think Urquidy is actually a decent pitcher. Trout and Upton, I think, are still very much in play. I really like Jared Walsh in general as just a hitter, and I just want to throw that out there. I don't know what I'm going to do with it today. I did end up playing him yesterday, which I didn't expect to be doing because I got stuck at first base. Here's the thing with Heaney, okay? So I'm going to just real quick do a BBP search. So Heaney was dominant last time he faced this team, and that was when he was 6,600 and like 2% owned. Why now are we going to take a one sample size, especially when like it seems like every time someone faces someone for the second time this year, they get lit up? The only thing I'd say is that he's pitched a pretty good amount to them in the past, and they haven't really done much damage to him. And you're hitting 180 as a team and over 120 at bats off of them. Basically, it's not a ton, but it's a pretty good amount of at bats. I mean, it's a fifth of a season for a hitter, almost a fourth for some. I don't know what to do here. I was flirting with the idea of maybe going the other way and hoping for the blow-up game from Heaney and playing Houston, but I don't know that I'm going to. Bregman and Altuve are my favorite plays.
What was the deal with Bregman? Why he sat? Just wait, rest management or whatever?
I have no idea.
Okay. We don't care too much about that in baseball, I guess.
In baseball, I almost never even think about it unless they say the guy's on the injured list.
Okay.
Or if it's a fast guy with a hamstring or something like that. All right, so Miami, Arizona, Sheets. What are we gonna do? What's your hot takes here?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, when you look at the pitching and you do projections, you do whatever, you're gonna come up with Gallen just because of his price on FanDuel as being like almost like the same as and worth kind of splitting your ownership with Cole, right? Mm-hmm. But when you start to build these things, like for real, you find as though you don't really need it that much. Mm-hmm. And this is shout out to SaberSim. Like one of the things that I'll run with SaberSim is that I'll run crunches with the adjusted projections and all that stuff. And what SaberSim will do is come up with like lineups to take advantage of ownership and leverage and stuff like that. And believe it or not, like given what I put in, again, it's all what you input, whatever, is that I'm actually getting like probably one of the highest exposures to Miami as far as for hitters. And it makes sense, right? So like if you're going to play Cole and there are going to be people that play Gallen because of the price, you could get like really good other four-mans. And if you play the Miamis, and Miami, like on their own, like rate is kind of okay, but the leverage it gets off of the people that play Gallen, I think is pretty significant. So I'm going to do a little bit. I'm going to do that. That's I don't want to call it a hot take or whatever it is, but that's certainly what makes a lot of sense to me. So that's that. And on DraftKings, I like Gallen as my tied with Woodruff for my SP2. And that's about where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm not really interested in this game. Gallen's obviously in play. There's a lot of other pitchers we've talked about that I think his ownership will maybe it's not even just his ownership. I mean, it's not like we get this huge, like he has good K stuff. We've seen it before. He's more stretched out than he has been. Miami's not as good, all this stuff. I'm guessing the roof is probably going to be open tonight, but I'm not 100% sure. Pretty good pitchers. Definitely no interest in the hitting side. Yeah, I wouldn't even think about it as like there's just, you could just say it like nobody on Miami is going to have any ownership whatsoever. So,
right.
From that perspective, you can always play the stack in baseball. I'm just not getting to any of these sides really. Don't really love any of them.
Lewis Brinson is calling your name.
I know. I played him in a little mini stack yesterday.
Lewis Brinson and another dude. You got like Hall of Fame possible hitters like Sandy Leon. He's I think he might be playing, and who else? I mean, there's all kinds of like incredible hitters from Miami here. So I don't know why people aren't pounding these. Why are these guys not really popular? But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But in seriousness, I do like if I am gonna just play the Miamis, I'm gonna play Aguilar, Dickerson, Brian Anderson, maybe. guys that could actually do something, just to get some leverage, and then that'll. I'm going to do a little of that, just true DFS, true transparency. Those will be the ones that we sacrifice those lineups to the virgin, so to speak.
Yeah, makes sense to me. You want to
Moving
get
on.
into the one I actually like?
Yeah,
The game I actually like?
go for it.
So let me see. Hey, Google, what will the temperature be tonight in LA at
Google, not Alexa?
Yeah. I have Alexa in my house.
The forecast in Los Angeles today at 7 p.m. is 66 degrees and sunny.
So it's not as bad as it.
Right now it's 61 degrees and cloudy.
It's not great. It's not terrible. I think that this is the spot where the Dodgers could explode. It's not that I think Justin Dunn is bad.
Oh, he's bad.
Is he? I mean, he's been good.
I think he is.
Like he's been good so far. I mean,
I don't think he can throw the ball over the plate. No,
that's the problem, and that's what I was going to say. Is like if you're going to get a wild guy against the Dodgers like this, and a guy who throws hard, a guy who even is a strikeout guy, it doesn't matter to this Dodger team. That's what they live. Power righties. It's just not going to happen. I'm a very big fan of the Dodgers tonight, and may even put them, right there with Boston. I also think the more I think about it, I think Urias might be a better play than all the other guys we talked about. And you could just look at, first of all, he put up 40 against this team last time he pitched against them. He struck out 11 guys in 7 innings, gave up 1 hit. He is a guy who doesn't give up much. There was a tough matchup for him pitching in against the Angels on the road. He wasn't good in that one. I'm willing to just throw that out as sort of an outlier, because other than that, this year, he's been pretty great. And he's had some tough matchups. He was great in Colorado. You know what I mean? I just think he's a really, really tough guy for Seattle to hit. He's very efficient. He's got a leash now. He should be lower owned than the other guys. Not really anything either way. Very neutral umpire here. But I like Urias and I like the Dodgers, and I'm going to have plenty of that. And the Dodgers are very easy to prioritize for me.
I got to pause this for just a second.
Okay.
This way, yeah.
So yeah, I was just saying, the more I think about it, the thing with Urias, that I just think that you get Seattle coming to the National League. I know that there was Haniger had a couple home runs last night and got to Buehler and all that. Although Buehler was still actually, okay or whatever because of the strikeouts. But I think this is a great spot for both. The only thing is, am I getting enough of a discount off Woodruff for Urias? But then again, I like this matchup a lot better than I like Woodruff's matchup. And I think I might just sort of end up rolling with this. The problem with the Dodgers stack is it's going to be fairly owned, which is weird. But it's also Gavin Lux stands out as being one cheapish bat. Beatty, if he's in the lineup. Corey Seager obviously is not cheap, but he's my favorite. Seager is going to be my favorite bat almost all the time here. He's the best shortstop option on the slate, in my opinion. Muncy is awesome, but the only thing I always like to risk to warn people about Muncy outside of stacks is just he's great, but his at bats are always going to be very few because he walks so much. This guy just walks all the time. He's walking more than once a game on average, and sometimes you can say that's poor for DFS, and that makes sense to me. So I'm interested to see how the lineup will shake out. I think that it actually is going to be lower owned than people project because we don't know exactly who's going to be in there entirely. Mostly with the Beatty spot, maybe Chris Taylor or something could happen there, and somebody else could play. But I don't think so. I think it's mostly just going to be whether Beatty starts or not. But I like all of them. I'd go all the way down. The guy who I would be fading the most would probably be Mookie. Doesn't always feel great to fade Mookie, but the price is crazy. The outfield is loaded. I can play the Dodgers infield and then use my cheap outfielders pretty easily. So that's a route that I'm thinking about going. I really like the Dodgers.
Yeah, the Dodgers for me on DraftKings are my favorite stack. I actually in my first run, I'm actually playing a bunch of Mookie. But all the other guys that you mentioned, Will Smith, I don't know if you mentioned him, but Will Smith, Muncy, Turner, just the regular guys, honestly. No, that's actually not true because the Gavin Lux, I don't know if you consider him the regular guys nowadays, but just nothing particularly fancy with the Dodgers, which might make, you know, saving some money up at pitcher worth it. So to me, you know, given a little tiny bit of correlation between the Dodgers and Urias, maybe saving the $1,000 does you good twice. You know, it'll help you get to the Dodgers a little bit easier, and it gets you the win bonus if you're right. So yeah, I like Urias. I like Urias right now about the same as like the Duffy, for example. And you can make, I guess you can make a case for either. But I definitely like the Dodgers the most on DraftKings for whatever reason.
For
Are
what
they like really expensive on FanDuel?
who
The Dodgers.
did they do? The Dodgers are going to be much easier to play on FanDuel. No question.
Weird. Okay.
But like, keep an eye out for what happens. Pollock might be in the lineup tonight. Like, just, I mean, again, we may not even have the lineup, but just be ready to switch with your Dodger things because they, you know, Pollock or Beatty could end up being the guy who ends up, you know, you end up stacking in your lineup that either wins you the tournament or doesn't. But they're the cheaper options who you can use. The more I'm going to come around to this, I think that just Urias is just a terrific play. I really do. I really think he's a strong play. I think that if we really think about him versus Duffy, with Seattle, who can't hit lefties, coming to the National League in a National League park against Urias, and I mean a lower run total than Detroit's got, who also can't really hit either. But I think I'm sort of starting to lean Urias a little bit, and maybe doing something weird and like not that Cole will be bad or that Woodruff won't be really good, but like, there's a chance you can get Urias and Duffy to outscore Cole and Woodruff. They have the upside for it. I just don't know that it's necessary at these fairly close-ish price ranges. Like if Urias was for somehow, if the funny part is if Cole was 11.5, I still would be having him as my priority pitcher on DraftKings. But then we could start having a real conversation about maybe switching over to these 8,700 guys. But right now it's a little bit hard, but I do really like Urias, so I'm thinking about him like very strongly as my SP2. It's between he and Woodruff, really.
Can I tell you something something interesting? So oh no, okay. I was wondering what was going on. Yeah. So I was asking about the Dodgers. I wasn't getting to as many Dodgers. The only reason I wasn't getting to as many Dodgers on FanDuel is the first one I did was like ownership adjusted. That's why I didn't get as much Dodgers. But when you just say like who's going to win, you know, whatever, Dodgers would be like a full 50% of my exposure.
Yeah, and they've been. I mean, I'm a Dodger fan, and they've been awful this year. For the most since the first couple weeks of the season, they've been really awful. But I don't let that fool you. They're fine. This is a good matchup for them. I really like them in this spot anyway. So I mean, just to reiterate, for me, it's Boston, KC, mini Oakland, and the Dodgers stand out as my favorites. Maybe I'll go back to the Philly mini mini stack or even full stack if I can get we can get some better weather out there. But I just, as of right now, I'm just inclined to sort of stay away from it. The pitchers that stand out are, oh, by the way, Bill Miller, who's one of the best pitchers umpires in the history of baseball, is the umpire for Garrett Cole. So that's a little harder to fade. Not that Garrett Cole needs it, but and Danny Duffy has Dan Bellino, who's also like one of the better ones in baseball.
It's also a little, this game's in New York, right? The Cole game?
Yeah.
It's a little chilly out there today.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, everything's sort of leading me to, honestly, when I saw the projected ownership on Cole this morning, I was like, okay, double that. And then that's what it should be. It just really should. Like, the floor is too high. And the ceiling is through the roof. So I don't know. I don't see any reason to not be trying to make Garrett. I mean, he strikes out double-digit guys every time he goes out there, basically, except for last time against Houston. And that was Houston. So anyway, some one-offs. I mentioned some of the other guys. There's other one-offs that I like, but the guys who stood out sort of for being value-y one-offs. And I know it sounds weird to say Judge as value, but Judge at 4,600 is a value play. Like that's about as good of a hitter as you'll ever see at 4,600. Soler, Vogelbach, Taylor, Upton. Then you get the expensive ones in Bregman and Altuve that I like a lot as one-offs.
My one-offs are Vogelbach. Of course, you mentioned Franchi Cordero. Taylor Warwood, I think, had a home run last night or something.
Yeah, he did.
McCutcheon, I like at 4K. Bomb at 3,100. Upton, like you see, even though they moved him up a little bit, Upton, but he's still good enough at 3,200.
Yeah, I just think the power is there. I agree. All right, I think that's pretty much most of our baseball stuff. Should we jump over to? You want to stop this and jump over to basketball?
No, we do golf next. I can't do
golf. Excuse me, not basketball.
Let's make sure to get golf.
Okay, we're getting golf in. All right, guys. Good luck to everybody out there. We'll see you at the top leaderboards, and we'll see you at 6 Eastern.
All right, fire it up.